So for our committee reports, I'm going to turn the time over to Vice Chair Belknap, and because I'll be giving the Finance Committee report, and she'll take the helm probably, well, right through our board bylaws. Give you guys a break. Give you guys a break listening to me.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. The Finance Committee. So who's our driver? Okay, let's get to our.
Stallings is.
I think you're down to 10.6, Angie. I don't think I missed any. You can double check. Oh, maybe I did. Hold on.
No, I'm double. It's.
No, the other one was directing staff.
It should be Board Policy 5009 is the first motion, I believe.
That's what I have. Are you ready for my report?
Yes, please.
Okay. On this particular item, after several board meetings and a lot of hand wringing and discovery of what a committee and different things and structure and that, the motion from the Finance Committee is that the committee moves that the board direct staff to form an SOAP stakeholder work group and an online education stakeholder work group, and to coordinate with USSA on both work groups.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the committee moves that the board directs staff to form an SOEP or SOAP stakeholder work group and an online education stakeholder work group, and to coordinate with USSA on both work groups. Any discussion to that motion? Board Member Earl?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that I appreciate where this landed. I know there was a lot of dialogue with a lot of groups, and I think this is a good place to end. So I'm just in support of this motion.
Thank you. Board Member Lear?
I'm just curious, because I didn't take the opportunity I could have to listen to the Finance Committee discussion. What was the what made this so hard to work out? What was the anxiety?
Chair Huntsman?
Yeah, I'm glad to respond, and we've got other Finance Committee members could also. The challenge here was really putting a framework together of what the group would do, the scope of work, who's on it, the time, and then we not really surrendered, and it just kind of came back to us that we're making this more complicated than we need it to be. And within the USBE organization, they have a ton of work groups, and Lexi from USBA or USSA, was in full cooperation for this motion, and it's a good starting place. And maybe over time, when the scope of work can be better defined and a more comprehensive deep dive look into either a task force or a committee that requires a lot of reporting and scoping, that it would evolve into that. But to take care of the needs of USSA and their ability to talk about a couple or be at the table to talk about a couple issues as things are moving forward, this is how the conversation went and the motion went forward with a unanimous support and also the support of USSA.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Carol, oh, her hand's down. So Board Member Hanson.
Thanks. My question was really about the scope of work and the purpose of the group that we're putting together. Are they looking for areas that need to be worked on in the future? Or I just couldn't see that. It wasn't clear to me from the rule that we have before us. Can you help me understand that maybe, Chair Huntsman?
Yeah, well, that was the big problem for the finance committee, is what are we trying to fix, or what's the focus, what's the first intent? And the simplest solution was to form a working group and have this open dialogue, a different dialogue of discovery of issues and different things as SOEP moves forward, whether it's funding or size or whatever it might be. We just could not get it defined, and the stakeholders that are involved in it, it was difficult for it to be defined. So the best place to appease the motion and also the intent that the motion was made, we thought, okay, well, let's go to this space that puts people at a table in the work group setting, and those things get turned on and off, and it's created within USBE, and it's sometimes the work groups are accelerated depending on what the issue is or what might be coming up on a particular rule or something when it comes up, or something from the legislature. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Follow up, Vice Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So how do we see this playing out? We're going to get this group of people together. They're going to talk about what's going on with SOEP. They're going to define some problems that need to be worked on, or is there something that's going to come back to the board from this group? I understand it's a discussion group. That's what you've told me, but do we expect something back in a few months? I just saw that they're going to decide whether there's a need for this group to continue after a while. But is there that accountability piece coming back to the board?
Chair Huntsman?
Yes, if I might respond, and maybe it might be better from somebody from USBE that lives in the space of working groups. Maybe I can deflect and not put my own opinion on how USBE operates with working group. Maybe Director Thronson could respond if that's okay, Madam Chair.
Dr. Thronson?
Yes, so in terms of, is there expected work to come back? Maybe. So the working group would work together, see what can be accomplished that doesn't require like a board rule change or a legislative change request. A lot of the beginning steps, there's just creating a better understanding of what SOEP is, how it functions, what it is and what it's not. There's a lot of miscommunication in this space of statewide online education program. And so that's where the group will start. And then if there are things that come out of that working group, staff would bring that to you for your consideration based on the working group's kind of work.
Follow up.
Board Member Hanson.
Would it be burdensome, I guess, for us to maybe amend or have an expectation that there would be a report that comes back to the board? I know this sunsets in just a couple of years, but prior to the sunset, just a lessons learned or, this is what the group did, to have that come back to the board.
Dr. Thronson, do you have something already in play on that?
So specifically, I want to be clear, the rule or the draft policy is not actually being put forward in this recommendation. The committee decided to just say, organize a couple of working groups and move forward with kind of figuring out what the needs are. So there is no formal, that policy was actually chosen not to be moved forward, but we'd be happy as staff, if you want to just charge staff with coming back, we'd be happy to come back when there's something to report to give an update on where we are, or once we've developed our scope of work, which will be kind of what the working group will work towards first, like what are the things we want to cover in this group? We can come back and share that if that would be of interest to, when we can come back to finance or standards and assessment, depending on where people want it. We'd be happy to do that.
Would that be sufficient, Board Member Hanson?
That would be fine, and I appreciate the clarification. I misunderstood that we were moving forward with the policy, and that the working group is separate from what was being established from the policy. But I would be interested in knowing, where I won't be participating necessarily in the discussions, I'd like to know what you learned. So.
Hey, I think, and leadership can decide where it lands, Dr. Thronson, when you get something to bring forward. I thought one thing interesting, Scott, that Chair Huntsman said, depending on what they're bringing forward, it may include maybe a task force after. And so it's these two groups working side by side. So.
Understood. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so the motion before the board is that the committee moves that the board directs staff to form an SOEP stakeholder work group and an online education stakeholder work group, and to coordinate with USSA on both work groups. Please vote. Chair, oh, there you go. Okay, Lorraine, the voting is unanimous.
Thank you. Didn't Member Hart vote?
Yes.
Oh, I see yours. Okay, thank you.
Lorraine, I don't have to vote if I say it's unanimous, right? I don't have to click it.
Right.
Okay, thank you. All right. Dr. Thronson, your hand is still up, just for clarity. Okay, Chair Huntsman, back to you.
Okay, I believe our next item, my numbers aren't aligning with what's in the packet here. So the next one is oh, there we go. No, 10. My 10 isn't mine's not matching up with yours.
10.6, it looks like, Chair.
Okay. Okay, the motion from committee is the committee moved that the board directs staff. No, that's not it.
Yep.
There-
Move it down, yes.
Okay. The committee moved that the board approve R277-477 distributions of funds from the trust distribution account and administration of the school land trust program draft 2 on second and final reading.
So the board coming from, the motion from committee is the committee moves that the board approve R277-477 distributions of funds from the trust distribution account and administration of the school land trust program, draft 2 on second and final reading. Any discussion to that motion? By Member Hanson.
Just a quick question. I think it can be addressed easily, but on lines 43 and 44, it talks about a council comprised of a 2-person majority. I don't know what that is. What's a 2-person majority?
Is Ben Rasmussen available? I think he was the one that was on this.
I am here, Chair. I think Paula might be the one to answer it, but I think it just refers to there being a majority of parents or grandparents on the council, is how I understand that.
Oh, if I could have seen this, I would have told you. You have to have 2 more community members than you have school members.
Ah, very good. I puzzled through that several times and I couldn't figure out what a 2-person
I
majority.
couldn't see where this was. That's what it is.
I got it. Thank you very much. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're muted, Laura.
The committee, the motion before the board is that the committee moves that the board approve R277-477 distributions of funds from the trust distribution account and administration of the school land trust program, draft 2 on second and final reading. Please vote. The voting is unanimous. Thank you, Chair. Okay, go ahead.
The next one is R277-491 amendment. Okay, the committee moved that the board approve R277-491 School Community Council's draft 1 on second and final reading.
The motion before the board is that the committee moves that the board approve R 277-491 Community Count, School Community Councils Draft 1 on second and final reading. Any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, please vote. I see that the voting is unanimous, Ms. Lorraine. Okay, Chair Huntsman, do you have another one?
Yes,
Thank you.
that's the next one down. Who's driving?
I don't see another one, Chair.
I thought we had one on the website.
I don't see a motion written there. I think you had a discussion on it.
All right, then I think I'm complete.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair Huntsman.